morning, my friends, and welcome to My Left Ear. I'm Carrie FREEMAN, the writer, producer, director of My Left Ear. And next to me is Petey, my giant tuxedo cat, and I'll show him to you in a minute. He's taking a little rest. So this is a left-leaning political community, and I do psychic commentary, and I throw a lot of runes to get questions. Runes they're not the tarot, but they're used a little bit like the tarot. And on my Patreon, I've got a whole teaching thing where I talk about all the runes, and that's at the beginning when I started Patreon. But if you join Patreon, you can go back and study the runes. So when I am not here doing My Left Ear or a Patreon contribution, I am a change agent, meaning that I help people change, improve, get over issues, problems, and I do psychic coaching, which is my own specialty, where I help people solve problems through my intuitive channel, which is My Left Ear. So when I get information and prompts, I get it from my left ear. It's very strange, but it's the truth. That's why this is called My Left Ear. And I'm an author of a book called The Comic's Daughter, which you can find below, and another book called What is Good Evidence, which I'm finishing the second rewrite of that book right now. So basically what I do is I disseminate news and information, and I add my psychic commentary and some spiritual material. Occasionally there's some humor involved. So I hope you enjoy this. This is for entertainment purposes only. Now, something that's very much on my mind right now is the Writers Guild and Screen Actors Guild strikes. I live in Hollywood, and I did come here to be a professional actor. I'm a member of the Screen Actors Guild and AFTRA, and I see people suffering. And the reason this is going on, that you may or may not know, is the explosion of AI that's coming into filmmaking and all kinds of voiceovers, all kinds of issues where people could lose their professions, their income, etc., etc. So I wanted to know, so I asked the runes right away this morning, will the WGA and SAG strikes resolve? Now, WGA, Writers Guild, went on strike in May, and Screen Actors Guild just went on strike in solidarity less than a few weeks ago, about a week ago or so. So let me share with you what I pulled. I pulled the rune of initiation, and initiation talks about something is hidden. There's a secret matter. This is a mystery rune. I think this has to do with like closed door negotiations. And it is beyond our frail manipulative powers. It is associated with the phoenix, the mystical bird that consumes itself in the fire and then rises from its own ashes. And there will be fallout from this. You know, people are going to lose a lot of money. God forbid some may, go bankrupt and lose their homes. I pray that doesn't happen. But this bird consumes itself in the fire and then rises from its own ashes. So people will rise again. This is just a very big deal right now. And as some people have called it, including George Clooney, an inflection point. An inflection point. It's very serious. So powerful forces of change are at work here with the initiation rune, and it tells us what is achieved is not easily or readily shared. There may be surprises, and when I read that, I think like not bad surprises but positive surprises, gains, rewards that we did not anticipate, so that's good. The rune is concerned with the deep stratum. I lost my place here for a minute. Just like the deep stratum of our being, the bedrock on which our destiny is founded. This is deep. And for some, it means experiencing a death, and the death would be a way of life. It has to do with the changes that are coming. But the attitude needs to be, I'm willing to let go of everything in order to win. And not win everything. Compromise is expected, okay? And I had a teacher once who said, if you're not willing, you have to be willing to gamble it all in order to win. And so this is a very courageous thing that's going on with all these writers and performers, and they're really walking and striking for their lives. So they are letting go without exceptions, and nothing less than renewal of their spirit is at stake right now. Well, then there's something good coming, by the way. Then I got defense, which is avertive powers, averting. As we are tested, we fund the power to avert blockage. If there appears to be an obstacle, oh my God, big obstacle, consider even a delay may prove beneficial, albeit painful. Do not be overly eager to press forward. It's very hard to say this right now with people suffering, but patience and diligence is the counsel. No acting needy or lusting. But you know, there's a huge, massive group of people that are really supporting each other right now and are on the same page. This rune of defense, speaks to the difficulties that can arise at the beginning of new life. And that's a good sign, because they're talking about new life. And it often announces a time of waiting, and we are in this period of waiting right now. Perseverance and foresight are called for now. And all of it will be achieved by right action. So you're put on notice, we are put on notice, that through inconvenience and discomfort, growth is promoted. Now here's the positive on this, because those first two runes are establishing the situation and the guidance about the situation. But the final rune I pulled was the rune of joy, which is always good. And the rune of joy is a fruit-bearing rune. They call it a fruit-bearing branch, okay? It tells us that the term of travail, difficulty, has ended. You have come to yourself in some regard. All the strikers, you are free to receive Wunjo's blessings. That is the name of the joy rune, W-U-N-J-O, Wunjo. You have come to yourself in some regard. You are free to receive now. This rune accompanies new energy that was blocked. That's very literal, my friends, right? Light pierces the clouds and something lovely emerges. There is new clarity that may call for you or us to renounce existing plans, which is to come to the table and compromise, but not lose everything. You know, that's compromise, where there's a little bit of winning there and a little bit of winning here. And the people that are that are against this are like very wealthy producers and movie makers, and they're being greedy right now, because if they got what they wanted, they'd wipe out a lot of careers. But I'll tell you what came to my left ear a few days ago, that there's a parallel between the writers and the actors striking and the United States fighting for democracy. And again, it's fascism. And so the people at the top that are making zillions of dollars as producers, directors, they're like fascists in a way. So there's this commonality right now. There's this commonality right now, because I feel that the Writers Guild and the Screen Actors Guild, they're fighting to suppress fascism in the movie business, which is wealthy, greedy people being more greedy. But these are the times, this is the technology, and we have to, work with it. So I tried to find out when this is going to end, which is challenging always. And I said by the end of September. I'm not so sure. There may be, it may go a little bit beyond September. But let me just share with you the first rune I pulled. When will the strike end? Will it end by September, the end of September? And it says unknowable. And this is always the first sentence of that rune. Blank is the end, and blank is the beginning. So the end of the strike and the beginning of the new world order. Whatever they achieve, whatever they decide on, and we need to trust. It should be taken as contact with our own destiny. Well, it is the destiny of the writers and the performers, actors. It can involve a symbolic death. My print blew up again. A symbolic death, but it is about relinquishing control. We're not going to get everything we want. It indicates a compromise. The rune calls for an act of courage. And right now, people are walking in this insane, like 98-degree weather out here with water and shade and umbrellas, and they are soldiers in a way. Okay, so the second rune I got that led me to feel this wasn't going to happen quite as fast as we would want it, I got standstill. And standstill it's just like one long pole. That's what the rune looks like. And it's cold, I will tell you. And it says the winter of your spiritual life is upon you, or upon us. We may find ourselves entangled in a situation whose implications we are, in effect, blind. We may feel powerless, which a lot of people are feeling right now, but they're also determined and they're very angry. You can see it, you can feel it. There is a freeze on useful activity. So there is a freeze on actors getting acting work, writers getting writing work. There are people that have contracts on shows and movies. They're not doing it. There's movie premieres right now, and the casts are showing up looking very pretty, and then they're leaving the stage in solidarity. And that just happened with Oppenheimer the other day. We will see if it happens with Barbie, but actors are being they're being solid with everything. So that's the sacrifice of the personal. But this rune does tell us there's really no reason for anxiety, which is surprising. It says submit and be still. The situation arises from conditions about you can do nothing except strike. But the seed is unrealized potential, and it is a seed for good. Okay, now it's funny how we get like a positive rune at the end. Well, I got another positive rune at the end of the when. And I got the rune of partnership. And I've gotten it a couple of times. It indicates that a partnership is at hand, which is resolution. This partnership can be achieved only by separate beings who retain their separateness. Makes total sense. The SAG is separate, WGA is separate. But this rune of partnership signifies the gift of freedom, okay? So I'm feeling very hopeful about this, and my left ear is feeling hopeful about this. And it may, we'll just have to see about by the end of September, okay? I don't think it'll be much longer than that if that's the case, if it doesn't get resolved sooner. But there is some kind of resolution that I am predicting here. And nobody's going to get what they exactly want. That's just the nature of mediation. But hopefully the actors and the writers will get what they deserve. They won't be taken to the cleaners. Not all writers make a lot of money. Some lucky bastards do. But most people are in it for the love of it. And they can't do anything else. They have to write. All right, so now we're moving on. Runes. Aileen Cannon, who's running the document trial in Florida, all the indictments that are against Trump in Florida, which I think are 37, but these keep changing, so I'm not sure. So the question is, will she put, Trump's team wrote a crazy, I don't even call it request, for this trial to be put off indefinitely, okay, until after the presidential election. It's cray, but that's what his team did. Jack Smith called it an almost frivolous request. So this is a very short reading with the runes. I got partnership, which again, it's a good sign. Possibility of an agreement where they'll set a date, okay? Now, Jack Smith wants the date, I think, in mid to late December, all right? That's what he wants. I think they want December 10th. Then I got the blank rune, which is unknowable. It's a rune that has no writing on it or anything, no symbols. And it says, blank is the end, and I have an idea about that, and blank is the beginning. So now that I said that sentence, I wrote, blank is the end, and I wrote, Cannon in a question mark, is it her end? And blank is the beginning, is that a new judge? That's what I wrote. Because it can portend a death, the blank rune. And nobody's gonna die, that's not what I'm suggesting. But it's about relinquishing control, and that may be Cannon relinquishing her bias and control. There is undiluted potential in the blank rune. But I have a new thought because I got the blank rune and then I got the rune of separation. It seems to me there is a chance she might be replaced. Nobody knows what she's going to do, and I think she's going to talk about it this week. She's going to come up with a response this week. So we don't know yet. But with the unknowable, and it's saying portended death, and that blank is the beginning and blank is the end, it makes me wonder if she refuses, which, by the way, is, it's like, it goes against the Speedy Trial Act, which is a real thing, that we are incumbent, the government is incumbent to offer a speedy trial, whoever is being accused. So if she refuses to reschedule, she's really going against something. And then Jack Smith can go to, I think it's the 11th Circuit Court. I get so confused myself, for an appeal, and she could be removed and replaced. She could, all right? Then the last one on this with Aileen, I got separation, which is retreat, a time of separating old paths. And it says, old skins must be shed, outmoded relationships discarded, a peeling away is called for, and she must look closely at something that she must give up. This can be challenging for her if she's called to give up some aspect of her behavior or her belief system, because we know she was appointed by Trump. I even saw a picture of her at a Trump rally. She should never be on this case, but she is. So it asks, is this about your attachment to your position in society, Judge Cannon? To the work? To your beliefs? And she only can answer that. So Smith wrote a 10-page double-spaced pushback that I understand is very easy to read, where she challenges the Trump team on the Speedy Trial Act, which I mentioned to you. And it says the judge shall set a trial date. And if she's non-compliant, then there will be intervention. He will write to or he will appeal to the 11th Circuit, if I'm correct about the 11th Circuit. And they also said this is not a voluminous case like Enron. The Enron story was huge, enormous. The Trump team has 6 months here, and according to Andrew Weissman and everybody, 6 months is plenty of time for them to prep, even though they are whining is what I wanted to say. So now I'm going to move on to this awful Senator, Tommy Tuberville, who is blocking military appointments, and it's very serious. He's affecting our security. And I'm going to get to this in a minute, but he's single-handedly doing this. Don't ask me how that's possible. He's blocking every personnel move, assignment that requires confirmation. And there are 150 members of the military that are waiting. They're waiting. And there might even be more now. And why does he want to do this? He wants Tommy Tuberville, who's an idiot, by the way. You know what his background is? He was a football coach. He's really not very bright. But a lot of them, he's got this big head of silver hair, and I noticed that's a very winning thing, these men with the big head of silver hair. He wants to overturn, I blew up again. He wants to overturn the Pentagon policy of granting leave and travel expenses for military personnel, and that would be women, who cannot obtain an abortion in the state where they are stationed. Tuberville told Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin in a committee hearing earlier this year that the taxpayers should not be on the hook for such costs. He says it violates the Hyde Amendment that bans federal funding for abortion. But, and there's a huge but, listen carefully, the military spends $41 million annually on Viagra alone, according to the Military Times analysis. And you want to know why? Because there's erectile dysfunction among men in the military. Oh, that's terrible. Oh my God. $41 million on Viagra, and he wants to cut the women off. It's just, I don't even have the words, okay? So in summary, they're saying that about 18% of the military men have erectile dysfunction. Boo-hoo. So in summary, it is a common condition, and the U.S. military pays for the health care of millions of men, meaning it spends a lot on Viagra. But why are they not taking care of women? You can see I'm very upset about it. All right, so I got protection on this question. Control of emotions is at issue here. New opportunities and challenges are typical of this rune. With this rune may come trespasses and unwanted influences, which would be Tuberville. The president even spoke out how unhappy he is. And just don't know why one person can block this very important thing and affect our security. Then I got growth in reverse. Aspects of character, Tuberville's character, interfere with the growth of new life. So to Tommy Tuberville, are you placing your wants before the needs of others? And that would be a resounding yes. And that question comes from the runes, okay? Then I got flow, which to me indicates a breakthrough here, that this holdup cannot go on forever. And it speaks of movement, the flow. Unseen powers are active here. Powers that nourish, shape, and connect. That sounds good to me. It speaks to the satisfaction of emotional needs, which would help all the women in the military, to an awakening. So that feels like a shift. It signals a time for cleansing, revaluing, reorganizing. And I will just tell you, this is what the book says. In fairy tales, it signifies happily ever after. So I want to say, over the next month, let's look for a shift in what Tommy Tuberville is doing. Now, nobody's really written about it that I know, but it could be that he's being offered money. Could be. I didn't ask that question. All right, now we're going with a few tidbits before I wind this up. I had to turn all the air conditioning off, so in a few minutes it's going to get really warm in here. And that's why I'm winding it up. I don't know if you know this, but 2 Democratic Congress women who got elected have moved over to the GOP. They've left the Democratic Party. And I'm like, how is this legal? I mean, couldn't people show up and present as Democrats, win, and then head on over? I mean, I think this has got to be fixed the minute Democrats move into Congress and take over Congress, which I really think will happen. So let me just out these 2 women. Georgia State Democrat Rep. Mesha Maynor announced that she was leaving the Democratic Party for the Republican Party at a news conference on Tuesday. All right. Then North Carolina State Democratic Rep. Tricia Gotham, who won as a Democrat in her blue district last fall by nearly 20 points, said at a news conference in Raleigh that I just think she was, check her Venmo account, okay, that the modern day Democratic Party has become unrecognizable to me. Well, let me interject. It's not unrecognizable to me. It seems like that's been very uniform. No big messages. But as a result of her making this move, the GOP gained a veto-proof supermajority in the state house after she switched. And she wrote something on Twitter that I have nothing to apologize. And I wrote to her, yes, you do. You definitely have something to apologize for. This is from my left ear, that it just came to me the exact way that my left ear speaks to me. I looked at Joe Biden while he was at NATO and doing such a fantastic job. And I went, he knows already that he's going to win the election in 24. And I'm sticking to it, people. I'm sticking to it. He has the energy and the glow of someone who knows. Just watch it next time. So I wanted to interject that. And then, SCOTUS, the Supreme Court, is getting the worst publicity, especially Clarence Thomas, because they just found out that a paid clerk of Thomas's has been getting Venmo payments from lawyers who had cases before the Supreme Court. Let that sink in. Because now it's not just Clarence, it's one of his clerks. Who's an attorney? The clerks have to be an attorney. And then, and I really don't like to report this, but fair is fair. Justice Sonia Sotomayor, her staff has been urging schools and libraries to buy her memoir or her children's books. Wrong. And she has made millions. I don't know if she's made millions because of her staff, but she's made millions. And so this goes both ways. She shouldn't be doing this. Her staff shouldn't be doing this. So stop it. But anyway, there are things going on that are trying to blunt and bring some structure to the Supreme Court, hold people accountable for these big, millionaire payoffs they're getting and trips and luxury items. And it will happen. I just don't know how fast it will happen because now it's in our face. It's just not a rumor. It's in our face. And they all should be audited. They all should go through a, what do they call that? It's like an audit on steroids. Like there's a name for it. It's something audit. I bet one of you will write me and tell me. Also, we're going to move on here. The first presidential debate is in 37 days. My left ear does not think Donald Trump is going to be on that debate stage. Number one, he's losing his marbles more and more. And number two, he's very afraid of Chris Christie, who is going to be on that stage and can demolish him and would like to demolish him. So Christie is a little bit like the Terminator. Also, don't know if you heard this, but Ron DeSantis, who's failing in his bid, just fired 12 paid campaign staffers. And also, by the way, I think maybe I mentioned it last time, that the people that are canvassing for Ron DeSantis are being paid, when most of the time they are volunteer, okay? And then, this comes under good evidence. This lovely young woman in Alabama, Carlee Russell, who disappeared on the side of a road, is alive and safe. She showed up at her parents', I think yesterday morning, and her parents, she has not been interviewed, and we do not know her physical condition, but she is at the hospital. But she showed up at her parents'. Her parents called 911, and 911 checked her out and took her to the hospital. But her parents claim that the toddler walking alone on the interstate was used as bait to lure Carlee Russell. We'll find out more. But when she did stop to care for the toddler, I think she called her parents or called 911 and started saying where she was and what was going on. She screamed, and then she disappeared, and they lost contact. When they showed up at her location, her phone, her belongings were there. She was missing. And I think, and I don't know for sure, that she was wearing a wig, and the wig was found. So we'll find out more. But she is safe, and it's very mysterious. But it's good evidence, right? I mean, her parents were, as all parents are when they have a child that's missing. So it was a miracle that she showed up, and it was their good evidence. So here's the quote, because it's just getting hot now. This quote is by Arthur Rubinstein, who was born in 1887 and lived till 1982. He was a Polish-American classical pianist and was widely regarded as one of the greatest pianists of all time. His grandson became an actor, John Rubinstein. He said, "I have found that if you love life, life will love you back." And I just found that the other day, and I fell in love with this quote. I have found that if you love life, life will love you back. Isn't that nice? And I don't have any monster good evidence today, but I'm almost finished with the book, the rewrite of the evidence book. I'm really at the end of it now. Can't believe it. I might finish it next week, and then it'll go into it'll go to a proofreader, and then I'll work with a designer, and I'll get that sucker up on Amazon. It's really good. I'm really proud of it. So that's fun. And one of my categories, because I have categories for good evidence, is everyday good evidence. And people would overlook this, but I scrubbed my oven because I had an oil spill in there and was smoking up my apartment. So I scrubbed it myself, and I did laundry, and I groomed Pete, and I vacuumed, and that is everyday good evidence. And when we do it, we just feel better. You know, I don't like to vacuum, but I feel good after I vacuum. I don't like to scrub an oven, but I felt really good about getting it cleaned up. So that's everyday good evidence, and we sometimes can overlook it. It's the chores that we don't feel like doing. And in fact, there's a famous speech by a 4-star general. I think he made it to a graduating class, and he said, make your bed. Make your bed every morning. It sets the whole tone for your day. So making your bed is everyday good evidence. He says it sets the tone. If I can find his speech, I'll share it on my community section. So those are my 2 pieces that I'm almost through with done with my rewrites, which I've been talking about too long, but I'm almost there. And the everyday good evidence. And now, when I leave, I'm going to go to a pretty well-known Mexican restaurant here in Los Angeles. Been here for like 30 years, called El Coyote. El Coyote, sometimes seen in movies. It was seen in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I think it was the last place Sharon Tate had dinner. Anyway, it's sloppy Mexican food, and I really like it, and I'm going to go meet an old friend there. So that'll be good evidence. That'll really be fun. Now, let me see if I can get now, he's kind of hiding behind something. Let me see. Hey, Petey, come out and say hi to everybody. There you go. Want to say hi to everybody? Come on. Look, that's it, Pete. That's it, Petey. Good boy. Everybody likes you, Pete. Okay, so you got your Petey hit. And I will be back on Monday with the weekly runes. I didn't want to do it all in one day. So I'll see you tomorrow with the weekly runes. And then probably do another, my left ear catch up Thursday or Friday of this coming week. And we'll see what it brings. So make peace, make good evidence, make good evidence. I was going to say make good memories, because that's the quote. And look for good evidence, make good evidence, and kindness on the street, okay? I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye. Love you.